Hi folks, welcome back to the Jim Handy channel, and if you're new here, thanks for stopping in and checking out the video. We have an indoor project that we're going to be taking on today. We're going to be installing a brand new garbage disposal. Actually, we're going to be replacing one that's stopped working in our kitchen sink. So this is what we've got planned today. This is a standard Insinkerator Badger 5, real common. That's what we have installed now. And so that's what I'm going to put back in place. The old one has lasted a very long time. So stick around and we'll get going. Okay, so I'm going to take you underneath our sink here and show you what we're dealing with relative to replacing this garbage disposal. All right, so here's what we've got. See, it's just a standard garbage disposal installation. We do have a dishwasher that is plumbed into the garbage disposal, so we'll have to take that into account. And these Insinkerators are supposed to just twist off. Technically, we could just twist the new one on, but I want to replace everything. I don't want to leave any old hardware at all. So we're just going to remove and replace the whole thing. And with that said, the other thing that we have to do here is disconnect our drain line from this. And then, of course, underneath, and this is something that's going to have to be, this was, I guess, done by the previous owner. You can see that is not ideal. So we need to see if we can get that conduit back into the bottom of the new garbage disposal and clean that up. Just make that installation there with the electrical wiring a bit safer. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we have two screws right here. And this, I've taken one of them out, the one on the back side that hold the plumbing up to the garbage disposal itself. So we have one more screw here on the front side to take out. There we go. And this should just pop out and we should be able to twist that around. There we go. So that's got our drain line now disconnected. The next thing we need to disconnect is the line from our dishwasher. I'm actually going to get a bucket handy because this may have some water. There's a low spot here where there might be some water that's collected, so we will disconnect that. Once that is loose, yeah, there we go. And there was some water there. Well, the next thing actually we'll do is we'll end up taking this loose. But before I do that, I need to cut power to this garbage disposal. So I'm going to go out to my breaker box. I do know which breaker turns the power off, but I also have a way to check it when we get in here. Obviously, one way is to turn the power switch on, which I will do, but only for a very brief period, because the problem with this old garbage disposal, you turn it on and it just makes a humming noise. And if you leave it on, the internal built-in breaker will trip. But I have another tool that will tell me if there is live current on this wiring leading up to this. And I'll show you what that is when we start taking this apart. Okay, so I've got the power turned off, and I know it's off because, again, my breaker box, the circuit breaker that controls the garbage disposal, is specifically labeled. I came in and I've already tested it. However, that may not be the case for everybody. So I wanted to show you this tool. It's made by Southwire, and it is a voltage detector. And this is the handiest thing I think I've ever had in the way of electrical tools. So you just power this on and it'll turn green. That way you know it's on. And if you want to check and see if there is power at an outlet or something like that, or particularly if you have bare wires or that kind of thing, you can hold that near and you can see it'll start beeping and turn red. So I know that this socket right here actually has power. So when you apply it, the same tool, to a circuit or wiring where you don't want power. And you can see I'm putting it right up against the wiring here, and it's remaining green. So really handy tool. I'll put a reference to this description down in the description of the video, and a link to where you can buy one of these if you're interested. They're not very expensive at all, and are just a great thing to have around the household if you're going to be messing around at all in any way with electrical outlets or that kind of thing. All right, so now we're going to disconnect our old garbage disposal from the top, and we should be able to just twist this clockwise, and it should just disconnect. There we go, just like that. It's a really clever type of system that this particular type of garbage disposal used. Maybe the other brands use something similar as well, but you can see how easy that is. So we can turn this around, and one of the things that we're going to have to do is disconnect our power. So this is our electrical wire leading in. This piece is, wow, this was quite a hack wiring job. So we'll definitely have to improve that. So there we go, we've got that piece. There's actually a little panel here that we have to take apart. It's just one screw. And just as an extra measure of caution, I'm going to put, sometimes if you bang this around, it'll beep, but you can see here it's just saying stop, it's staying solid green. So I know for a fact we have no power here. So now we can get a pair of pliers, get some needle nose here. Let's see, I'll disconnect this piece. And then we have a ground wire right here. There's a screw that we have to loosen up. There we go, and we should be able to extract this. And there we go. So you want to inspect these wires, make sure there's no bare pieces or any of the insulation was knocked off pulling it out of there, and I don't see anything, so we're going to pull this piece off, and I think we're good to go. So this apparatus has to come off as well, because we are going to be putting in the new hardware that comes with our new garbage disposal. Again, the new garbage disposal that I bought, it would just connect right up onto this, but I just don't feel comfortable leaving the old hardware, mounting hardware in the sink. So we're going to do everything brand new. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. So we've got some screws we have to loosen up here. there should be a snap ring that we can pry off. Let's see here. I believe this is it right here. So it's this little piece. They call it a snap ring. It's under pressure. It goes up on there. Ultimately, when all this hardware here that we're about to pull down, there we go. This snap ring holds all that in place after you put this hardware on. You'll see when we get to the new installation. So with that, all we have to do is go topside and just remove the finish piece that goes from the inserts down from the top side of the sink. All right, so we're going to start the process now of getting our new garbage disposal ready to install. One of the first things that we need to do here is get our electrical hooked back up. We had an old piece of conduit, which in this case is really not necessary. I do want to kind of reroute my electrical wire, but we do have good electrical wire here. But what we do have to improve upon is how we attach it to our garbage disposal, because the way it was attached before, it just was literally, there was nothing holding the actual wiring together. So I've installed a, it's hard to see here, but I've installed a piece of hardware that once we get our wiring threaded through here and get the insulation part of our wiring up above this, we can tighten the screws and it will tighten that down and we'll have a good sturdy connection, and it won't be possible for our electrical wire to be pulled out of the garbage disposal itself. That's really all I'll say on that. If you're not comfortable doing electrical work, this is something that you might want to consider, having somebody do. But again, in my situation, whoever did it in the past, it didn't do a very good job. So that's what I'm going to work on now. I need to put a little bit of a bend in this. All right, there we go. I think we got everything. There we go. So that makes sure that this wiring is firmly affixed to the bottom. That way we're not putting any stress on the actual wires themselves. So now we just have to get those pieces connected up and we'll go from there. All right, so next step here that I want to go through is to get our new sleeve installed into the sink here. And there's a couple of ways you have to go about this. Normally, you would use plumber's, I say normally, typical guidance is to use plumber's putty. However, that's not the only option that you have. In fact, I have a different way that I do it, simply because I think plumber's putty is inferior. What I use is this product, and it sticks to just about anything. It's an elastic sealant. It's immediately water repellent, and it by putting, what we'll do is we'll put a generous bead all the way around this rim, and then we'll set that down in there, and that's going to create a watertight seal between this sleeve and the bottom of the sink so that we don't have any water that leaks through. I think it works better than plumber's putty, and so that's the approach that I'm going to take. can see I'm being pretty generous with this. All right. And then what we'll do is set this down in here. Now that's going to ooze out a bit. Go, and I'll just kind of clean that up around the edge. That is going to create a super watertight seal. Much better, in my opinion, than plumber's putty. All right, now that we have that piece set in our sink, we're going to go back underneath, finish wiring up the garbage disposal, and then we'll go ahead and get the hardware mounted up underneath that our garbage disposal connects to, and that will also make sure this is fully seated. And then we'll just be to the point of hooking up our plumbing. Okay, so wiring this up is pretty simple, black to black. And what we're going to do is we're going to twist these together. All right, you just want to make sure nothing slips out of that. That looks pretty good. Okay, I'm good there. Now we have a green screw here. Hopefully that shows up. And we need to loosen that up. And we need to this bare ground wire needs to hook to that. Now, got that securely fastened. We'll tuck our wires back in here. Put our plate back over this. All right, so that's got that wiring good to go. There is another step. This is where let's see if I can get you down here where you can see this. This is where the dishwasher drain hose goes in, and we have to pop that out, which should just be a simple matter of we have to use a hammer to pop that out of there. There we go. And so it's just we need to get that little plastic piece that, let's see. There we go. It's just a little plastic piece that comes out of there. That way now our dishwasher will drain correctly. So we've got, and by the way, this is where our other plumbing will connect to. So with that said, the next thing we've got to do is get our hardware up underneath to tighten down the sleeve that goes into the sink. So let's see if I can reposition you and we'll show you how that's done. So up on the top side, I've put a heavy object on top of our sleeve that goes into the sink here. And that is because of this next step, which gets kind of interesting. We have to put our support plate on, and then that is followed by our mounting plate. And then we have this ring that snaps on. And so there's some upward pressure that has to be put on this, and Again, this gets a little bit tricky. There we go. Okay. Now, next thing we can do is start tightening up these screws. Actually, the things we have to do, back these back out here. Not the mounting plate, but the support bracket has to be aligned a certain way so that the screws fall onto these areas here. Now we can start to run our screws in. So now we'll tighten these down. And again, we don't want to over torque this. We have a pretty good seat already, but it needs to be tight enough so that when we put our garbage disposal on, it doesn't twist. So I think we're about there. All right, I'm going to call that good. And I think now we can put our garbage disposal on. And we might have to loosen these screws and adjust this one more time just to make everything line up. We've got that up installed. It was just literally just lift it up and till it kind of seats and then twist counterclockwise. We've got our plumbing now. We're going to tighten up. All right. Make sure everything else is tight. And it is. We have our dishwasher hose. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Okay, so there we go. That has everything hooked back up. All right, so I think we are good to go. So we'll turn our power back on and then we'll come back in here and give it a test. Okay, so we have our power turned back on to the garbage disposal. Let's get a little water running here. And let's give it a go. Very nice. Look down below here. Everything looks good. Success. Okay, there we go. We have completed our garbage disposal installation. Everything is working good. We have no leaks. All our plumbing, drain plumbing, everything went back together fine. Everything is checked out and working great. So again, it's not a difficult job. It's one you just have to take your time and be prepared to kind of work in a confined space. So patience is the best asset that you can have when you're doing this kind of work. So hope that you found this useful. If you did, appreciate it if you could give the video a like. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. It doesn't cost a thing. And with that, we'll see you on the next video. Have a great week. and great rest of your day. We'll see you soon.